Hi, everybody. This is Loren Baker, founder of Search Engine Journal. With me today, I have Mr. Ryan Jones.
Hey, guys.
Say hi. So, Ryan is, how long have you been contributing to SEJ, Ryan?
Forever. I want to say at least like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's been a while.
Okay, cool. So, Ryan wrote a post last week called the 8 SEO job interview questions that cut through the BS. I won't explain what BS means. You should be able to get that. But before we get into his post and talking about his post and some of the tips, would you like to do a quick introduction? Tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So obviously Ryan Jones on Twitter. That's just at Ryan Jones. If I say anything smart, go ahead and retweet it. If I say something stupid, it's the pain pills because I'm at home recovering from knee surgery right now. 3 more weeks before I can walk. You can probably see the crutches in the background. Anyway, my day job, I'm a SEO group director at Publicis Sapient, where I'm one of the co-leads of the international, whatever you want to call it, SEO team. Basically, I have a team of 40-some people in 9 or 10 offices across the country, working with large brands. You've probably also seen WTFSEO.com, a satire site I run. And lately, I'm plugging the heck out of serverheaders.com, which is a free SEO tool I created that just shows a whole bunch of information at once. So check that stuff out. But that's me.
Nice. Yeah, serverheaders.com is pretty cool. It almost has as many ads on it as SEJ has.
I have 3, all right? I don't know.
Okay.
Someone actually said that about WTF SEO. They're like, it's so cluttered with ads, I can't read it. And I went to the site and I counted. There are 2 on the sidebar and 1 in the middle. Like, there's 3.
It doesn't matter. This is how we are. Like, this is how we inherently are as SEO and marketers. We always have to say that something's wrong. Like, you have to optimize everything, right?
We have to put more ads too, because as a group, none of us click them.
Exactly.
We're targeting the wrong audience here. We're targeting people that by default have ad blockers and don't click the ads because they don't trust them to begin with.
Yep. I agree. So, very cool. So your latest posts, again, SEO job interview questions that cut through the BS. You manage a team, did you say 40?
You cut out on me here. What?
You manage a team of 40, I believe. Is that what you said?
Yeah. We're a pretty big team, across 8 or 9 different offices. We're an agency, so we're always hiring. Whenever we win work, we got to ramp up and scale up people to take on that new work.
Cool. So, how many times a year do you interview?
Too many? Is that an answer? Okay. I would say, we're always interviewing someone every month. There's at least something going on, right? If we're hiring for a position or, whether or not we need to, just keep a pipeline full, because a lot of times we'll hire a new client. It's like, hey, we need to start in 2 weeks, right? And 2 weeks isn't a lot of lead time. So I like to keep a pipeline full of candidates so that, hey, are you still interested in a job? We got this opening coming up in 2 weeks, right? Perfect time for you to leave if you're looking, right? So keep that pipeline full. But we also do a lot of 360 interviews. So we don't just interview for whether or not it's an opening for, the SEO team, but we'll do a culture fit, an office fit, right? Just talk to the people, get a sense as, do they fit the team? Are they, the person we want to put in front of a client and things like that. So I'll talk to analytics folks. I'll talk to, paid search folks, developers sometimes, right? Social media folks, just, whoever happens to be coming in the office for an interview that day, they'll sometimes pull me into that stuff.
Okay. Really interesting. So especially hearing about this from like the larger, Publicis side of things. When I interview or when I have a job opening, I basically just put something on Craigslist or put something out there and my social channels, and then things come in and go through it. I'm sure that's a lot different for you. I imagine that people would go through HR first, right? Is that typically the case? Okay.
Typically. Go ahead. Ask a question. I'll answer it all.
Oh, and when they go through HR, does HR communicate with you at that point? Are you looking over like their LinkedIn, their resumes, or things like that, or does it kind of act like a filter? How does that work?
Both. So as team leads, Sean, my colleague, and I, HR and recruiting will, we call it recruiting, HR, same thing. It's recruiting. They'll ping us with either a LinkedIn profile of a candidate or a resume of a candidate that they have and say, hey, are you interested in setting up an interview with this person? And one of the two of us will make that call. And often we won't be the first one they talk to. We'll have someone else on the team in that local office or whoever's running that account that they're interviewing for be the first one that they talk to. But we'll do the pre-screening, right? Just try and take some work away from the rest of the team and free them up to work. One of the two of us will do the pre-screening. But a lot of candidates, I've hired people I know for other offices, right? Obviously they don't report into me and I'm not in that chain, but
right.
I'll spam the socials, my Twitter account, not so much as popular, but I'll post in groups on Facebook, right? Either like an SEJ group or a PubCon group or right. A group of where there's SEOs or even private groups, right? Everybody's in those private Facebook groups for SEOs. Anybody know anybody? And, as an agency, I get a referral bonus, right? If I hire someone, it's a couple $100 in my pocket.
That's
so
nice.
They can't be in my team. They can't be reporting to me, right? So I have to recuse myself from that hiring decision if I refer somebody, but I'm always looking because, I like money.
There you go. So what are some tips, like before we get into the questions, what are some tips or some things that really stick out when you're looking at those LinkedIn profiles? Or do people still do resumes? I don't know, but LinkedIn profiles.
People still do resumes.
Okay.
I said do. I said do. Yeah, I get it. It's funny. But people still do resumes. And I look at LinkedIn too, right? It's whatever you send me, to be honest. And what I'm looking for is, and this sounds kind of silly because a lot of people do it, I'm looking to see not what tasks you were assigned, but I'm looking to see what you accomplished, right? And that's the first question in the article I wrote for you is, tell me about your biggest accomplishment or the biggest impact you made for a client at the last job. Right. And so what I'm looking for you to tell me how you made an impact in this job. I don't want to see, search coordinator responsible for writing metadata, responsible for pulling analytics reports. I want to see, increased client rankings, click-through rates, whatever, even if it's the lowest level of position, I want to see that rewrote metadata and increase click-through rates or rankings by X%, right? That gets my attention because then I see you made an impact.
So you basically want to see a case study coming from that individual at the end of the day or something close to that.
And it doesn't have to be that detailed, right? Like, when I was a software developer many years ago, I think one of the things on my resume was rewrote algorithm and increased sales by 12%, right? So like that's it. Like it's not very, doesn't say anything that doesn't give anything away. It's just, hey, I wrote this code that increased sales by 12%, right? Like that's the accomplishment. So it can be very basic, but I just want to see that you did something.
Well, it also, to me, that also kind of shows that they're thinking about the big picture, right? Because I've done a lot of interviews in the past too, and sometimes you get folks that they only are really, even post-interview after you bring them on, they're only really worried about what they're doing, right? So to see that someone is thinking about how SEO applies to the client, applies to revenue building in the future, it applies to what can be done, and how they see themselves as part of that journey, I think tells a little bit more about them individually.
It does. It definitely does. And that's what I'm looking for, right? I want someone with the passion. I want someone who doesn't turn SEO off at 5 o'clock when they go home or 6 o'clock, whatever your working hours are, right? I want someone that, you don't have to have a side site. You don't have to have a side hustle. You don't have to blog or speak at conferences, right? That's all nice. That's great. It's preferred, but I'm not making a decision based on that. I'm not saying, nope, this person doesn't blog or speak at conferences, so I'm not hiring them. Right. It doesn't play in, but some sort of passion, right? Yeah. Whether it's you're helping your significant other's business, or you're doing something in the community, or staying in the loop in marketing through something, right? Just have that passion. Don't turn it off when you go home.
Yeah, I agree. And that goes into number 4 on your list too, is the personal projects, websites, blogs, side hustles, et cetera, et cetera. So some of my favorite job interviews is when someone would bring in their laptop, open it up, and show me the analytics for their personal blog.
That's awesome.
I'd love that, right? Like, she's gonna kill me, but when I interviewed Selena Narayanesamy for the first time, she brought in her laptop and showed me like what was going on with her analytics on her own, like, I don't know, I think it was like a car site or something like that. I'm like, wow, okay, so you actually get it, right? You're showing me that you get it. It's not necessarily the most polished delivery, but like open up the laptop, logging in, and then that kind of takes it from, I think from an interview perspective, that kind of takes it from being a being a, hey, tell me about yourself, to more of an action-oriented approach, right? This individual is doing this. This is what they're doing from a side hustle perspective, or maybe just a hobby perspective, but they're applying marketing and analytics and numbers to it at the end of the day, which is really how SEOs think, right? I might love one thing and start a site about it, and the other part of my brain's like, well, let's make sure that site gets visits, because you're not just doing it for yourself and your own entertainment. But I see here that you have something about conflicts of interest. Do you have that coming up much when you do interviews?
It's not super frequent. It is a little bit, right? So working at a large agency is great, because if you're not, if you want to do side business, it's fine. We have a dollar limit on, what that annual contract is. I'm not going to get into that details, but it's a pretty high number to where if you're doing work for that dollar limit, you're probably not applying for a job with us, right? So, small stuff is fine. But, the bigger conflict of interest is I don't want somebody contracting for another agency while they're working on my agency, right? And I've had that happen, right?
Well, wouldn't that be against their employment agreement anyway?
Yes, it is. But I always ask, because a lot of people have their own side stuff, right? And they might. It gets complicated in SEO because we all have a side hustle. Every one of us has something. So,
and your side hustle is also how you learn, right? Because
100%.
You can't experiment on client sites all day.
You can, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's how I got started in SEO, right? I was writing code for the first 3 or 4 years of my career, and started making my own side websites, and was like, how do I get people here? I actually did your interview thing. One of the first SEO jobs I applied for after I worked at a software engineering place, and they moved everything overseas, so they laid us all off, right? And one of the first, I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do SEO now, right? Forget everything's, it's hard to get jobs in programming, and I don't want to do this the rest of my life. So I was doing this for myself, and one of the first interviews I had, I went in, I showed them my side sites, and I was like, so how do you, where's your SEO experience, right? Because it shows here all you do as a developer. Right. So I showed them my side sites. I showed them the AdSense. I showed them the Google Analytics at the time, and they were like, oh, all right. I only stayed there 6 months because I sold one of those sites to a startup and worked for that for 2 years or so. But, it got me the job just showing that. So it's a good tip that you threw out there.
Was serverheaders.com one of those sites you showed them?
No. One of them that I still own was noslang.com. N-O slang.
Ah, yeah.
It's internet slang translator. But lately Google's killing that, because if you type in any term, Google just gives you the definition of the acronyms and terms now. So it's been a struggle.
Tough. You got to rely on that Bing traffic.
Yeah. I'm drinking out of a Bing mug. Does that count?
I got my Spotify. Is that Hennessy you're drinking there? Is that what you said?
It's water, unfortunately. I'm on some good pain pills, so I can't really drink right now.
Yeah, don't mix Hennessy and pain pills. That's a big mistake. Okay. So speaking of Hennessy, I'm looking for a transition here. So number 5 in your list, tell me something that most SEO professionals think is true that you think is BS, right? So please tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I got that from listening to an interview with Peter Thiel, and I don't want to talk much about him because he's very political, and I'm personally not a really big fan of him, but this is one area where he gave good advice. And it's basically, one, I want to see how you think, right? Most of my questions are, I want to see your thought process. I'm pretty good at training people, right? So if you come in like, I've never used Google Analytics or Omniture or Screaming Frog or Bright Edge or anything before, not a problem. I can teach you all that in an afternoon, right? Same with keyword research, right? If you're not that great at doing keyword research, I can teach you that. It's just got to sit down and do it. I want critical, rational thought, and I'm curious to see how people approach stuff, right? So I started out asking that question is just tell me something that other people think is true that you think is bullshit, or you think is bullshit other people think is true. And we quickly got into people telling me all these political things. I heard about immigration and minimum wage, and I'm like, nope, all right, we're refining this question. So I limited it to the SEO industry. And it's cool because people come in and they're like, a lot of people think social or ranking factors, and I think that's bullshit. And I agree with that person, right? So like, it's kind of cool to hear their train of thought, but then the second part of the question is make them defend it, right? Okay, why? Play devil's advocate, ask them some questions like, well, why is social bullshit, right? I can tell you this one person did a correlation study that shows it worked, right? What do you think about that? And they can, just have that discussion and see them defend their position, because ultimately in SEO, when you're meeting with clients and when you're selling work, a lot of it is defending your position, using data to defend your position. That's one of the big things I want to see too. So how can you defend it, right? And I hate, I don't want to give you some fake hypothetical question. Like, let's tell me something you're passionate about, and let's have that discussion about that.
Right. Let's see if they can debate. And it actually gets, I mean, it gets them ready, especially on the agency side, right? I mean, I'm sure like in-house, there's things to defend and points you have to bring up and things like that. But on the agency side, it happens quite a lot, right? Not
Yes.
only within your agency itself, with maybe account managers or whatever that are trying to control the conversation, but also, clients or someone new in the room that just got hired on the client side coming in and trying to call you out immediately on something, right? To prove everyone that they have worth, right? So, the ability to really, it's not just defending, it's just, it's just placing your stake in the ground and then being able to back it up and then knowing how much you can, what's good for the client, what's good for you, and sometimes where you can meet there in between, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's all data driven stuff, right? I think the most common thing that I see in the agency is some client somewhere ran an SEO Quake plugin, and it told them there were 100 things wrong with SEO, and
Right.
so now they're like grilling you over the fires, right? So how are you going to respond to that? So it's that you got to judge for that. You got to be able to find the people that can handle that type of situation because it happens every week.
And it sounds like you're also a big proponent of holding mini SEO clinics with your interviewees as well. Giving them a random URL, walk them through a SEO diagnosis.
Only for some people, right? So for most levels, and anybody I interview is not going to have to do that. If you're coming in at a more senior level where you're going to manage people, right? Or where you're going to be the guy, like maybe I hate to say the guy, the person. If you're going to be the person I put in a pitch, like, hey, we got this new client, go, right? It's you, take care of it. If it's that kind of level, then yeah, we're a little more stringent. And it's a lot of people think of this as like, hey, the agency's trying to get us to do free work, right? It's not that. And I'm not looking for a full-blown PowerPoint presentation. I'm just looking for your thought process. What do you look at? What do you tackle? Can you use PowerPoint? Right?
Yeah.
Because just little things. And oftentimes it's just made up, right? Like I don't even give people clients. I'll just like, if you're wearing a North Face jacket, I'll be like, hey, go to northface.com and, tell me, what you would do to improve their website. Right. And sometimes it's put me a deck together if it's a real high level person with a high salary. And other times it's just in the meeting, like, hey, you got your laptop with you, pull it up. Let's go. Take a look. Walk me through what you'd see.
So you're not sending out an RFP?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, in the past, I've said some people like, hey, I need you to put together 4 or 5 slides like you're doing an audit for this site to show them what they can improve. You don't have to do everything. Just give me like 4 slides, find a couple issues and put them in a slide and tell me what you would do.
Okay. And then it sounds like you also kind of try to get an idea of how they're going to interact within a meeting environment too, right? So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, meetings are 90% of what I do all day, which it's in addition to the other 50% of stuff I do, because that's what job is like. But there's a lot of meetings, and a lot of meetings I like to ask hypotheticals on the clients. My favorite one is, hey, client says you want to do this thing, right? And I had one client in the past. I'll give a real example here that said, hey, we're doing this promotion with this rapper. We're going to pay him $1 million, and we're going to put his content on our site. And I'm like, well, that's doesn't make any sense. If we're paying him, he needs to send his traffic to us instead of us sending our traffic to him, right? And so basically I'm looking for how they would react to a question like that. Like, so the client wants to do this thing that you think is a terrible idea. Right. And, how do you convince them? And I hear a lot of people like the wrong answer to this question is to come in and be like, I'm the expert. I tell them that they need to listen to me, right? Well, ego doesn't work in this situation. You need data, right? You need to show them data, tie it back to their goals, tie it back to their KPIs. Like, what's the goal of this? The goal of this is to get more awareness. If we're putting his content on our site, who's getting more aware? The people are already aware of our site. So we should put our content on his site to grow the awareness to his traffic, right? So I want to see the data. I want to see the thought process. I want to see people that can break it down for the client. Basically tell me data in your answer to that question, and I'm happy.
Cool. So I also just learned something new about you after reading this article. I did not know that you were a Wendy's manager while in college.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Wendy's, by the way.
The top 5 5 jobs you've had in the past, right? I think I
Yeah.
listed a Twitter trend. I think I listed software engineer, Wendy's manager, high school wrestling coach. I did that for 2 years. That was interesting. Lots of stories there. Yeah. Wendy's. I had a friend. His mom was a general manager at Wendy's. That's what she did. And so in high school, I took a part-time job there because she was really flexible about working around all my schedules. And like, hey, I play hockey, I wrestle, I play football, I have all this stuff going on, but I need to make money. Can you work around my schedule? And she did. But in college, it was great. They offered, I think I made 20 grand a year back then.
Dude, that's big money in college.
Yeah. And, they had partial tuition reimbursement. So they actually paid for 1.5 classes as long as I got B's or better in them. And it was free food. So that was the biggest perk, right?
Oh, yeah, and good too. Did they have the taco salads when you worked there?
They did.
They just have the salad with chips on it and chili, right?
Yeah, that's whoever invented that. Like, I'm gonna make 1,000-calorie salad.
Yeah. I don't want to get too off course, but Dave Thomas, he invented the drive-through, right? So Wendy's was the first fast food chain to have a drive-through. So he went down in history for that. And then there was another thing that besides like Dave doesn't cut corners with the square burgers,
right?
I've always enjoyed like watching documentaries on the History Channel about fast food. So Wendy's is one that always comes to mind. So triple burgers or whatever aside. Oh, they have really good fries too. But Wendy's aside, this came up in the part about what did you hate most about your last job, which is really interesting because it's bringing up a negative emotion.
Loren, I lost
right? Oh, am I here? Am I back?
Loren?
Yes.
I lost Loren.
Am I frozen? Okay, I think Ryan has signed off.
Yep, I got you back. I lost you because
Maybe he's coming back on.
Can you hear me now?
There?
I'm here.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, you went away, so I reloaded the page.
Okay, no problem. So
all I heard is it's really interesting because, and then you went black.
Yeah, I did that purposefully. like it's a job interview to see if you'd actually leave. So it's interesting because you bring up a negative emotion, right?
Yeah.
Associated with the past job that they had. Why would you want to do that?
So at Wendy's, it was a really fun question because, you're interviewing a different type of clientele, mostly teenagers, right? And so you would get these people right away where you'd say, what did you hate most about your last job? And instantly you'd be like, well, there was this one bitch who okay, right? Like I'm not interested. I don't want someone that's going to trash talk their former place, right? That's one thing I look for. Right. Did you leave on good means? But you can tell a lot about it, right? Like there was one candidate recently we interviewed and he said he hated doing metadata and reporting and he's looking for a place where he doesn't ever have to do that. And unfortunately, that job doesn't exist in SEO.
Yeah, that's a big part of what we do, at least the reporting perspective. And like metadata, that can range anywhere from being keywords to any kind of tags or markup or anything, right?
And I don't just, pawn that off on new people or interns or entry-level people, right? Like I have directors and group directors on our team. We all write metadata. It needs to be done and it needs to be done well because it's a huge part of the site. It's a huge part of what we do. Same thing with reporting, right? Like, not a day goes by where I'm not in Search Console or Adobe or Bright Edge or Google Analytics or whatever, pulling data, right? All the tools, Deep Cruel, SEMrush, Ahrefs, Majestic. There, I think I mentioned everybody. But not a day goes by where I'm not. I got to be, partial and bipartisan here and mention all the tools. But not a day goes by where I'm not in these tools and pulling data. So at every level, it happens, right? So that was a kind of a red flag for me when this person said they're looking for a job where they don't have to do any of that, right? Because at our agency, there are no people manager jobs. Nobody just manages people. That's not a job. It's not going to happen ever. Everybody is hands-on working with clients in some capacity.
Very cool. Very cool. So we've gone over a lot of things that you look into when you're interviewing. We've also pinpointed some tips for people that are looking to get a good job or looking to get maybe a better job than they have right now in SEO. And those tips were really like things like building your own personal case studies, making sure your LinkedIn is updated. How do you feel about certification programs?
It depends on what, to be honest, right? I think a lot of SEO certifications are kind of BS. I'm not gonna throw down my money to be SEO certified. However, I tell my team if you want to get Google Analytics or Google AdWords or Adobe certified, which are tools that we use a lot of times for clients, we'll cover that, right? And some of those are free, right? But we'll cover that because that's useful. So it really depends on the certification. I think SEO is kind of something a lot of people don't want to touch at the 10-foot pole, because even if we agreed that there should be some sort of certification in the industry, we would never agree on who gets to do it or who gets to offer it.
Not that company.
Right.
Not that tool.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the offering is. Half the community would be against it, and find a reason why it should be them instead of somebody else. So I don't think that'll ever happen. But it's interesting to me, right? Some tools, it makes sense. It depends on the client, right? I think Adobe and Google Analytics help, not so much for an SEO, but like for an analytics person, right? If you're not certified in one of the analytics tools and I'm hiring you for an analytics job, then we're going to get you certified at the very least.
Got you. I like it. And then that's something that you can carry on to your next job, to your next job, to your next job, or up the ladder if so be. I also like the approach you take is everyone is involved, right? As being a leader, like, yeah, you're an exec or you're high up or whatever, but you write metadata, right? You write titles, you write descriptions, because you have to do it. And also when the people that work for you or work with you see you doing that, they're going to do it too, right? They're going to be like, Ryan's been staying up all night drinking bourbon and writing metadata. We're going to do the same thing. So that's always a good sign.
It's a philosophy I've subscribed to for a while, and it's that, if you're going to manage people, you should understand their job and you should be able to do their job, right? And you don't have to do their job better than them, right? But you need to be able to fill in for them if they're missing and show them that you understand it. Because no one respects a boss that doesn't understand what they do all day long or can't do what they do all along. So if you can show them that you can do it too, it's about respect. And like I said, you don't have to be better than them at it, right? Like if someone lives all day in one aspect, understand what it is and what it means. They're probably going to run circles around you at it because they do it all day long and they're an expert. But just show them you understand.
And when they see you making sacrifices and doing things that are beyond you, you're not going to hear people say, that's not my job.
Correct.
So, I mean, that all goes in the company culture, but it's good to know from an interviewing perspective. Anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
I mean, I'm an SEO, so I'm going to say go check out WTF SEO and server headers because, those are my tools and sites. But no, I mean, this was fun. I enjoyed this.
Cool.
Good time.
Who do you think's taking the Stanley Cup this year?
Oh, geez. As a Wings fan, I'm rooting for San Jose because if they make it, we get a higher draft pick from them from a trade earlier. But I don't know. I'd like to see a team that's never win it before. So what is that? We got San Jose, Columbus, and St. Louis. I don't think have ever won the Cup.
That surprised me about St. Louis.
Yeah.
But yeah, was Columbus an expansion team or was it okay? Yeah, that's just weird to see them even in the running.
I think St. Louis is one of them. But
Brendan is asking, how's the knee? How's the knee healing up?
Oh, the knee's it's getting there. You can see the crutches in the background. I've got 3 more weeks from yesterday where I'm non-weight bearing. So I'm doing physical therapy. For those interested, I had a part of my meniscus removed and I had microfracture surgery, which is where they drill a whole bunch of holes in the femur so that bone marrow leaks into the knee joint. And then when that heals, that bone marrow that contains stem cells hopefully becomes cartilage because I don't have any of that in my knee joint. So from too much sports and too many sports injuries. So since I have holes in my bone, I can't do any weightlifting or weight bearing and walk. And it is a challenge. If you've never tried to carry a glass of water on crutches across the hall, across your house, it feels like it should be a double dare event. Like I would watch that teams of 2 competing to carry stuff on crutches in a relay race.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you walking by PubCon, Ryan. Will you be there?
For sure. I will be at PubCon. I'll be doing Ungagged LA coming up as well. And I've got some irons in the fire for a couple other speaking events that I can't announce right now, but I'll be around.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks again, Ryan. Everybody, that was Ryan Jones of Publicis Sapient.
Yes.
And I always pronounce Publicis wrong. I've been calling it Publicis for all my life. And also the guy behind WTF SEO SEOJobs.com. Check it out. It's what would you SEO parody sites like the Mad Magazine of the Onion of the SEO industry.
Yeah, the Onion of the SEO industry is exactly how my boss describes it.
Okay.
But it's the best SEO parody site out there.
Yeah.
As soon as they offer an awards category at one of these events, we'll win it.
Awesome. And serverheaders.com.
Yep.
So, which has less ads on it than we have at SEJ. So thanks again, Ryan. Appreciate it. Again, I'll drop a link to Ryan's post here. It was, hold on, let me make sure I get this right. It was the eight SEO job interview questions that cut through the BS. So if you're looking to hire, you're looking to bring on and expand your team, highly recommend checking this out. And even hitting up Ryan for any tips or recommendations. So signing off right now. Thanks for joining SEJ Live, Ryan. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Thanks. It was fun. See you guys.
All right.